Hey guys, you both did a fabulous job in Panic, which I just watched the whole first season of like yesterday. um, so my first question for Cameron, Bishop, I think it's so interesting that he's in a privileged position because of his father, and yet his father is like the main source of tension in his life. So can you talk about that difficult dynamic or, the balance of those things?
Yeah, that was such a fun dynamic to work with. I was on a phone call with Lauren for a long time talking to her about that. And then even working with Ben, he's such an amazing actor. It was really easy to flesh out the little nuances between the two of us. And he even gave me a lot to work with. And I would bounce stuff off of him and vice versa. So it was really fun to discover that together as a group. And then I'm glad that you noticed that throughout the TV show as we worked on it together.
Oh, wonderful. Yeah, I thought it was such a fascinating character too, especially because I'm expecting certain things from him and then things play out perhaps in a different way for him. So it's like surprising after having read the book. Ray, the on-screen Ray, we're introduced to him as something of like the resident jerk, if you will. Mm-hmm. But as the episodes go on, we unpeel certain layers. So what was it like for you to discover, I assume that you get to discover more about him as you go along, the like more loyal side of him?
Yeah, I think part of the fun thing about it is just like trusting that it's there. We had some ideas of where the characters were going. And to try to make that track, like, he's a dick from the beginning, but you kind of have to be somewhat redeemable, so like that was kind of an interesting thing to try to navigate, just motivationally, like why a person would be that way. And I think that, Ray is just somebody that, like, because of who his family is in the show, like the world thinks one way about him, and he thinks that that's the way that he has to be. And I think with his relationship with Heather and the games, like he looks as an opportunity to prove that he's something different. And that's just the way that I sort of looked at it.
I love that. And speaking of Heather, she and Natalie for Cameron are kind of like Bishop's two like pillars, if you will, right? He's there as support for both of them, and yet he doesn't get to be in the game in order to either help or not them, and they're at odds with each other. So how does he sort of manage that as like the center of the friend group, if you will?
Well, I think Bishop knows Natalie and Heather very, very well. And he knows like their true intentions and what they really want out of each other and out of life. So I think he's really, really good at navigating and pulling like between the two of them to get them to kind of work with each other and work together. And yeah.
And then still speaking of Heather, you mentioned Ray, you have a bit of that spark with her that makes you maybe want to prove something. So what was it like working with Olivia and then kind of having that kind of cat and mouse dynamic?
Olivia was great to work with. She was down to work. Like that's what you always want in your coworker, and it was fun that, she loves acting. She loves movies. I love acting. I love movies, and just to be able to bond on that. And it was always cool to know that whatever the scene was, like we'd try to make the story track, and it just felt like you had a partner, you know what I mean? Like that's really important. Like you don't want to feel like you're out on a leaf, and I try to do that. Like Cam is another great, like I love doing my scene with Cam, like, with Kozame, with everybody, so it was just a really beautiful experience. But she was the leader of the show. She set the tone and we followed in line. So it was really cool to be working with Olivia.
I love that. She seems great. And I loved how she put together. Also, okay, so when I got the screeners, it even says like, don't try this at home. for all of the stunts and scenes. And I'm just wondering, how much did you guys have to try at home, if anything, right? Like how much is stunt doubles, and then how do you get into the mindset, because you're still acting it before the moment comes? I guess, Ray, you have done.
Yeah. I mean, like it's funny. There's some stuff that we did. Like there was one scene where I was jumping from a tree, and like I actually jumped from a tree, and it was crazy. You know what I mean? And it didn't end up being in the show, and I was kind of bummed. But you know, like, I think that even though you're like attached to a harness, or, you know, you still have the, like, it doesn't really compute in your brain. You know what I mean? So you still have that, like, at least when we were going across the tightrope, I was like, I'm actually kind of fucking scared right now, you know, like, you know, and like, I'm kind of like, maybe not supposed to be, you know, so it's like, it was just an interesting thing. You know, sometimes you would be scared. Sometimes you shouldn't have been scared. You know what I mean? Like, it was always an interesting thing.
So there's still panic when you are playing panic. Even.
Yes.
Well, both of you were so great. I really love both Bishop and Gray. And I hope that we're going to have more, like in other seasons, we can see more of that. But have a great day, guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tatiana.